Oh, right. I think we're live. Just checking the sound. Is working. Come on now, latency is crazy. Yeah. Alright. And, what else do I need to do? Yeah, I should probably share the stream, shouldn't I? Probably do that more often. Oh, I can't post. I've been banned. I think I've been banned. Shit. Yeah, I can't. Oh, shit. Well, I haven't been promoting it on Twitter so far, so I guess it's my own fucking fault. Anyway, we're live, so let's start the show, ladies and germs. Let's start the show. Welcome, one and all, to your weekly dose of Twitter madness. I'm your humble host, Christ's Scourge, or Salem, whatever you want to call me. Either way. Okay, so this week, I've been actually quite busy this week. So I had to kind of slap this one together. But I have been keeping an eye on a few things. And I don't have as many stories as last week. Maybe I should have fewer stories anyway. Just have more stuff that I can talk more at length about, maybe. Maybe that's the way to go. But we do have a few things this week. I think there is some stuff with some meat on it, so we'll see what you think about it. If you guys want to jump in the chat or jump in the comments, like, subscribe, all that stuff, and get in the comments, have a discussion. I'll happily engage with anyone there if you're making a coherent point. And also, we do a little trolling, so I'm fine with a little bit of that in the comments too. But yes, first story of the week. Pope Francis returns after hospital stay. So, been keeping a little bit of an eye on this. Not too much to say. We'll watch this quick clip here of Pope Francis coming out on a balcony, as he is wont to do. But yeah, I find this important. I do think, obviously, the Pope is probably the papacy is probably going to change hands soon, and I'm very curious to know who the next Pope might be and what kind of influence they're going to have on an increasingly radicalized Catholic congregation. That's what I'm thinking about. So, yeah, let's watch this quick clip here. The hell? Why is it so low quality? Why doesn't he look real? He looks different. Let's take a look at this face. That's Pope Francis? Wait a minute. That's Pope Francis. Hold on. Let's see a picture of Pope Francis, because that is not Pope Francis. Have they seriously brought out a fucking body? He's died. He's dead. What? That is not Pope Francis. What? No way is that him. That's his face. Now let's look at this face. Is that him? His nose looks different. Like, his nose is kind of rounder. His face isn't that wide. His lips are different. Yeah, his, like, folds on his face, like the wrinkles on his face are not the same. Now, I appreciate he is getting older and that, like, you know, your features can change a little bit. But that's too like, that just isn't him, right? Unless, like, somehow the illness has, like, deformed him in some way. That just doesn't even look like him. What? Am I crazy? Am I being crazy right now? Shit, I don't think I've got anyone in chat, but... Is there anyone in chat right now who's seeing what I'm seeing? Am I just being crazy? I can't... Fuck it, man. Fuck it, there's no one in chat. It doesn't even look like him. What the fuck did he just say to him there? Does that even sound like him? Let's get a video. YouTube. Let's get a video of Pope Francis speaking right now. Pope Francis speaking. Right. Not going to listen to all of this, but...
I wish to dialogue with all of you. And I would like to do so through the story.
I don't want him to speak in English, actually. I want to hear what he sounds like when he's speaking... What, is he Italian? I don't even know where he's from. Oh, come on. I don't want him to speak English.
There are conservative bishops. How do you...
You used an adjective, conservative.
Oh, I can't hear how he speaks.
That is, conservative is one who clings to something and does not want to see beyond that.
You could kind of hear what he was saying, but it's not good enough. I thought there would be more easily accessible stuff where he's just speaking. I don't know. It could be him. Maybe it's just like a weird angle or something. But it just... There's something... He doesn't look right. Like, he looks really similar, but not quite. You know what I mean? Does he have the same teeth? Maybe he does. It looks a little bit more like him now when you're looking at it from the side. I don't know about this, boys and girls. There's something weird going on here. I don't know, man. I feel like I'm going a bit insane. Because it's probably just him, isn't it? It probably is just him. But he does look different in my head. Like, I just can't help it. He looks so different to how I, like, envision him. And, like, those pictures and stuff, he does seem to look quite different. But it could be the illness. Kind of changed his features a bit, like, made him a bit fatter, I guess. Oh. Anyway, next story. Hot on the heels of Pope Francis's imminent demise. We have Easter being cancelled for inclusivity at a Norwood school in Hampshire, in England. And so, yeah, I'm doing this a little bit differently this time as well. I'm actually kind of going on the Twitter topic things, and we'll have a look at some of these top tweets about this topic and see if there's anything interesting out of it. But I thought this was interesting, you know, like we spoke about King Charles inviting all the Muslims into the palace for Ramadan and making a big deal out of it. And on the opposite end of that, we have traditionally Christian holidays being cancelled in the name of inclusivity. Would they cancel Ramadan for inclusivity? I don't know about that one. Do you? Interesting question. Who is brave enough to answer? But I'm actually very happy to see Mr. George Galloway here. If you don't know Mr. George Galloway, you better get to know Mr. George Galloway. I will show you his best bits.
Now, would you like me to be the cat?
Yes, please. No, don't be frightened. Come on, good Kit Kat. Good cat. Look. Shh.
Oh, wow. That is Mr. MP George Galloway. Sir George Galloway. I don't know if he's knighted, actually. He's probably not knighted. But he is an important political figure in the UK. And he famously went on Big Brother, Celebrity Big Brother, and pretended to be a cat as a means to flirt with a woman. Based! Okay. George Galloway says cancelling Easter in any school in Britain is completely unacceptable and the government must make this clear. Boom! Yes! Based as fuck. George Galloway coming in strong. You gotta love it. Samantha Smith says, great, now do Ramadan. Samantha Smith, I think, is one of the girls that was actually abused in the Rotherham scandal, who is now an adult and has come out about it. If you don't know about her, get to know. And she says, great, now do Ramadan, which is exactly what I said. I didn't even realize she was going to say, but I guess that is, you know, it's low-hanging fruit, to be fair. I think a lot of people are probably going to say that, right? I think any head teacher that cancels Easter in their school should be sacked. It's a tradition that has been celebrated for many, many years and should not have to cancel just to be inclusive. It's all getting ridiculous now. Does anyone else agree? Yes, Jen K. With your basic bitch opinion. Yes, I do agree, actually. Jen K. Who else have we got in here? Save Europe. Some primary schools. So it does imply that there's others, but I don't know. As far as I'm aware, there's only one that has done this. And they face some backlash. They may even change this. They will celebrate Refugee Week instead. Damn. I mean, you could literally incorporate the refugee message into Easter if you were smart. If you're a smart person, you could meld the causes together. You could bring up like themes about Easter. I actually, for some reason right now, I'm actually struggling to think of the actual Christian themes for Easter. It's mainly just about the resurrection and stuff, right? But so I don't know how you would tie that in. But you can fucking tie some Jesus shit into Easter. Come on, guys. Just use your imagination a little bit. You're gonna cancel it? Really? This is what a dumb person does. Or malicious. Yeah, but yeah, generally speaking, it's looking like it's pretty negative. I mean, obviously on Twitter, there's a lot more conservatives and stuff. So I expect Facebook is pretty similar. You know, all the boomers are on there. They probably hate this too. Blue Sky is probably ecstatic. They love Refugee Week, probably. Even though I've never heard about it until now. But yeah, this is the state of the UK at the moment. We're moving in this kind of direction. Schools are coming out doing stuff like this now. Will this become a more common theme? I don't know. Muslims in the palace, Christians getting their holidays besmirched, cancelled, left in the dirt. What are we to do with this situation? Find out next time on The UK in Flames. Next up, we've got a story that you've probably all heard about. The Tesla vandalism wave. Political or personal? So, yeah, there's been a lot of videos circulating. We've got some here. Of people, vandalizing and destroying, Teslas. They're taking the wheels off them, they're scratching them up, they're smashing the windows, they're setting them on fire, I guess, probably. I don't know. They're doing all kinds of shit. People are saying, hey, it's free reign on Teslas now. And I honestly just find this kind of extremely counterproductive. You know, these people, they're probably rich, so I don't necessarily feel too sorry for them, but realistically, all you're doing is hurting the public image of people who are against Elon. And if you have valid criticism of Elon, which I'm sure there are, I'm not necessarily a lover of Elon myself, so I'm sure there is many valid criticisms of him. If you really want those criticisms to be heard, I think engaging in this kind of like mass petty vandalism is just going to stoke more like societal ire and anger. I think, you know, that's all that's really going to do. It also doesn't really affect Elon. He's already got the money from these things, right? Now, I know the idea is, well, hopefully it'll stop people from buying them, so then that'll impact the business, right? His business. Yeah, that could be true, maybe, but I just doubtful. I think more likely you're just going to cause more societal strife than is necessary. Like, this is probably going to escalate. Like, there's going to be some people who lose their shit and just fucking shoot somebody for doing something like this to their car, right? But there's going to be a lot of physical altercations around this, I would expect. It's like, do they know that they're being videoed? I'm not sure. Erica Badu. If you don't know, I'm following Erica. Oh, fuck, I'm banned. Sorry, I forgot about that. Sorry, guys, forgot about being banned. But yeah, if you don't know Erica Badu, amazing musical artist, says she just vandalized her own Tesla. People are already making memes about this shit. Cops are looking for an unhinged Karen after she was caught on camera keying a Tesla. A lot of women. We have had some guys too. Actually, no, it's kind of been even, guys and women so far. Seems like. Yeah. But yeah, not much to say about this. It's just fucking stupid, right? It's just kind of like stupid behavior. This is kind of where we're at in society now, where like mass petty bullshit like this is going on, and I don't know, man. I don't even know what to make of it anymore. What are people even doing with their lives? What are they doing out there? It's not looking good, boys and girls. It's not looking good. Okay. Enough about Teslas. Now we're getting on to Rosie O'Donnell. Rosie O'Donnell, famous Trump hater, has come out saying that she basically believes that the last election was rigged. And you know what? I will say, maybe it was. I don't know. Probably, my instinct says probably not. But I am very open to the idea. I think I've said this on this channel before. I'm open to the idea that there probably hasn't been a quote-unquote fair election in America probably since the 60s. Maybe even before that, to be frank. Maybe they've never had one. How about that? How's that for a hot take? I'm not too sure when you look into the history of America and the political system. It's very questionable. But I do think they have tried. However, they have unfortunately slipped into an oligarchy. So we can quibble about when it became less democratic over time. But there's no doubt about that at the very least, from the 60s, there's been an ongoing issue with the kind of capture of the political system by elites, businesses, private entities, old money, shit like that, right? So I cannot completely rule it out. So as much as I would love to dunk on Rosie O'Donnell for being a hypocritical piece of shit, for hating all the people for calling out the that there might have been fraud in the last couple of elections, before the last one. Now here she is saying this. So let's see what she actually has to say for herself. I actually want to hear in her own words. Why does it fucking pause? Right. Right.
You know, a lot of people did vote for him.
Yes.
Do you accept their right to do that and their opinion of him?
Well, I respect their right to do that. I question why the first time in American history a president has won every swing state and is also best friends, and his largest donor was a man who owns and runs the internet. So I would hope that that would be investigated and that we would see whether or not it was an anomaly or something.
He runs the internet. Okay.
Something else that
The great mind that is Rosie O'Donnell
happened on election night in America when Kamala...
Even Trump wouldn't say something that dumb. And that's saying something. Come on, Rosie. Get the noggin jogging, please.
Harris was filling up stadiums with people who supported her, and Donald Trump was not able to do that. So it's curious to me, and as an American and a believer in democracy, I would hope that we would be able to look at all of the reasons why this happened in our country.
Okay. Okay, do the investigations. I say do the investigations. In fact, I wanted Trump to investigate fraudulent fucking shit anyway, so he totally should do that. But when she says they should explore everything, I think what she really wants to do is get away from exploring the real reasons, which is that people don't want to live under this kind of PC hellscape, wokeified culture anymore. People don't want to live like that. They all feel like they have to walk on eggshells constantly around all these issues. It's making it the backlash worse as well, because now people feel like they want to go hard against, and like a lot of people who were probably not really bigoted one way or the other about lots of different topics have now become more bigoted because of the fact that you have constantly targeted people and made everything about this constantly, right? So instead of being introspective and looking at that and like how they've engaged in political rhetoric that has harmed them, and also maybe just not come at things from the right perspective and taking a breather and taking a step back and going, you know, what can we control about this situation? What's wrong with us? What did we do to make it happen? No, it's all external. So yeah, I think Rosie O'Donnell just needs to fucking get a grip, generally. But you know what? I would welcome the investigations, though. I would welcome those. I think that would be cool. I'd like to see some investigations into fraudulent elections that are meaningful with no withheld information that happened in like a lot of them. So yeah, that'd be good. Yeah, so next we have Bernie Sanders on his continued rally against the oligarchy, which apparently is gaining a lot more ground. It is growing. It's a growing movement right now. AOC, you see the big booty Latina that we all know and love up there with Bernie on the anti-oligarchy tour. Democrats believe Bernie Sanders and AOC have a shot at winning the next election. You know what? They actually might, to be honest. I don't know. Bernie could potentially win it. I don't know about with AOC as vice president, though. I am a little doubtful on that. I don't know who you would actually pick, though. You know what I mean? I don't know who else you would actually pick for that. Maybe I guess he wouldn't associate himself with her now. But I was going to say Tulsi Gabbard, but I forgot that she kind of jumped ship. I was still thinking of her as like a Democrat for a second, but yeah, this is getting bigger. This is getting bigger. He's getting more eyes on this message about oligarchy, and I think it's important. I think that the term oligarchy needs to be more in the zeitgeist. So I'm very happy that Bernie Sanders is doing this. He'll have a tough time if it's him versus, because let's face it, what are the Democrats going to do? The establishment ones, they're probably going to try and put someone up like Gavin Newsom or some shit like that, right? Or like Amy Klobuchar or some crap. I don't even know like who they would pick. Would they rig a DNC thing again against Bernie? I'm not sure. Maybe they would. But I think he would have good. There could be good legs for Bernie Sanders at this point. I think people underestimate a lot of MAGA type people. A lot of MAGA people are a bit delusional about Trump, of course. But a lot of them are very swayed by what's going to be good for American people. And Bernie Sanders can be quite nuanced on certain things, even with like stuff like immigration. He's probably a softer hand on immigration, but he said in the past that it is literally a Koch brothers project. It is like mass illegal migration is purposefully done by oligarchs to suppress the working market and raise house prices. Stuff like he does know that, and he has spoken about it. So, you know, I do think he could be considered on a level. Like, to me, if the Democrats are smart, he would be the pick. I don't think they will pick him, but he would be the pick if they were smart. Because he actually would have a shot, I think. The only issue is this guy gonna fucking die because he's ancient? Is he even gonna get a chance? You know? I don't know. I'd like to see a Bernie presidency. It would feel very, I don't know, there would be a cathartic element to that, I feel like, because he's just been in the game for so long, and he's tried so many times and always, like, failed. And, like, I'm not a Bernie bro in the exact sense of, like, oh, I just support everything he says. There's definitely going to be things we're going to disagree on politically here and whatever, but I don't doubt his sincerity, though. That's one thing that I will and I can respect about him. He's a little bit like Jeremy Corbyn in that respect. It's like I definitely have a lot of economic disagreement with them, but that doesn't mean I can't respect them for who they are. And I do think, as much as I think Jeremy Corbyn is a bit naive in lots of respects, I do think his heart's in the right place, so I can't really fault them in that respect. So yeah, but as you can see, these crowds, they're pretty big, and this is only the beginning. They've only just started this, and they're starting this at the beginning of the presidency, right? So they're probably planning to do this the whole time. So all the while through Trump's presidency, this whole oligarchy stuff is probably going to start hitting into the mainstream a bit more. So that could be interesting. I don't know. Something to keep an eye on. Next up, okay. So I've heard rumors. I've heard rumors of stuff about this before. I wasn't sure if it was genuinely true. I thought it might have been a little bit of a meme. But no, it's true. Conor McGregor is in a presidential bid for the Irish presidency. Conor McGregor has announced his candidacy for President of Ireland, emphasizing an anti-immigration stance and promising to address media accountability. His campaign has stirred controversy, with some viewing it as a genuine political move, while others see it as leveraging his celebrity status. The Director of Public Prosecution is currently evaluating charges against Conor McGregor for allegedly inciting hatred related to the Dublin riots, reflecting the divisive nature of his public statements and actions. Wait a minute, how is it that it isn't also that maybe he couldn't do it because he's under investigation for rape? Can we please say that? What? Why is he not, why is that not mentioned? Surely that should be like a limiting factor. What the fuck? Anyway, obviously we got the McGregor fanboys. Radio Genoa says, Europe today does not need politicians but true patriots and strong men. Conor McGregor, next president of Ireland. You know, the kind of world that we're living in right now, it really wouldn't be a big surprise if Conor McGregor did actually become the president. But I'm going to tell you, it's not the same as someone like Trump. Trump legitimately has good knowledge of economics. Right, because of his lifetime in business, but also because of his education, his interaction with government entities and stuff like that, you know. Now, I'm not saying that Conor McGregor doesn't have any experience with that, but it's definitely not the same, right? He didn't grow up around all that shit or anything like that. He's not immersed in that. He does have businesses, but it's not going to be the same. A lot of people are probably running that for him, right? So, it's, I would not trust him at all at the wheels of a country. No way. But he probably has a pretty good fucking shot at making it, which is pretty insane when you think about it. Now, I do like some of his stance. I like him as like a political agitator, I guess. I like him as, you know, almost like a Milo Yiannopoulos figure, just coming around. You know, if he was on Conor McGregor on Question Time, and, you know, the debate is immigration, that would be fucking hilarious. I would love that. That'd be an amazing bit of content. But as an actual president of a country, I don't fucking know about that one, man. I don't fucking know. You should stick to punching people in the face. You should stick to pummeling people and beating up old men in pubs. That's what you should stick to, Conor McGregor. You should stick to chasing women off boats. Yeah. I don't know, man. It's a very bizarre world we're living in now, where someone like Conor McGregor might be the president of a country. And it's because of... And I will say it is partly to do with the Trump effect. It's like, oh, well, people just think, oh, well, they're an outsider. They're outside the political system. Maybe they'll be more honest. Maybe they'll be less narcissistic and stuff. No, that's not how this works, okay? Anybody who wants power can fall into that category, okay? It's not whether they're an outsider or not. An outsider, it can matter if they're an outsider. I'm not saying it's irrelevant. I'm just saying you still have to be wary because they can still hold the same dark triad, Machiavellian shit going on, okay? And all these right-wingers, these kind of reactionary chud type people are just totally in for it. I like it because it's funny, but I actually don't want it to happen. Like, I really don't want it to actually happen. I feel like Ireland it will not be good for Ireland. But yeah, Conor McGregor could be the next Irish president. Who knows? Next. can't even do this joke. Right. So, another thing that I thought was interesting this week, RFK Jr. advocates for the ban of TV pharma ads. I haven't really got a lot to say about this, but I just find that, like, marketing is fucked in the head. And there is, like, an amazing amount of pharmaceuticals that you can get over the counter that are actually psychoactive, that do affect the brain. Stuff like like benzos and stuff like that. They can get all kinds of shit over the counter over there that you can't get over here, that are addictive, that are things that are like painkillers and stuff that we can't get in the UK unless you're on like a proper prescription. Yeah, I think probably a good move. Also, they should probably be limiting big pharma in general anyway. So I'm assuming this is just one move amongst many to try and like kind of rein in big pharma and how they basically just try to create random shit to get you addicted to and convince you that you have problems that you probably don't have. You know, to create this kind of self-generating system. It's pretty fucked. So yeah, I hope that's part of that plan. It seems like that's what RFK is kind of thinking about these days. He seems to be very anti-big pharma. I think we're going to see some very drastic changes to how big pharma operates in America in the coming years. So that should be interesting. Trump administration revokes status of 530,000 migrants. The Trump administration has announced a revocation of legal status for approximately 530,000 migrants from Cuba, Haiti, Nicaragua, and Venezuela who entered the US under the Biden-era CHNV policy. So I'm assuming that he's kind of revoked this policy. So if he's revoked this policy, he's kind of revoked their citizenship. That's probably going to be what the story is, I imagine. This decision, set to take effect on April 24, 2025, will potentially lead to their deportation. Critics argue this move disrupts the lives of long-term residents, while supporters see it as enforcing immigration law. I do think, okay, illegal immigration is one thing, but when they've been brought in under a government policy, I do think, in a certain respect, you should probably honor that. Because it was done under the understanding, like these people came over in the understanding that there was an agreement. The illegal immigrants are not coming there under the understanding there's an agreement. They're coming there knowing they're fucking shit up, right? They know they're doing that. They don't care. They just want a piece of the pie, right? And I know they have lots of motivations for that, and I'm probably sympathetic to a lot of them. But at the end of the day, it has its effects, right? So you've got to think about the whole picture. And but if there was an agreement between the government, I do think it's probably good show to honor agreements like that, personally. So, and anyway, it says potential. I don't know if this means they will literally be deported. I don't know. Like, you know, some people have been 40 years in the country. Yeah, Allison makes a point here. Even if you think this is good in terms of macroeconomics or whatever, gleefully celebrating the destruction of lives is so staining, and I don't know how you ever see heaven. Yeah, I'm not jumping for joy over this. And also, it's 500,000. There's like tens of millions of illegal immigrants in the US. I don't think going after these people under this kind of agreement, I don't know. I'm not particularly a big fan. But I will say this is what people voted for. You know, Trump was going to be pretty hard on this shit, and so people should probably have seen this coming. You know, what you're supposed to do, man. I mean, you know, this atmosphere wouldn't be here if they weren't just like straight up purposefully allowing mass illegal migration, you know? People wouldn't be taking these hard stances otherwise, so... You know, there's blame to go around everywhere here, I feel like. And the only way to really come out of this is a kind of like good centrist party that has like strong stances on some of this stuff, but they're strong in a balanced way. Not strong in a flip-floppy way, strong in a balanced way. Like, we will have immigration, but it will be skilled. We will do it this way. We will have a cap. Something like that, right? That's how you make it strong, but balanced. That's what you need, I think, when it comes to this stuff. Next up. FBI agents work overtime on Epstein files. Now, you know I've been covering the Epstein files as we've been going week to week here. It's a very important story to me and to many people all over the world. And there's been some recent rumors, stories, issues going around with FBI agents who have allegedly been destroying documents, destroying things linked to the Epstein case, evidence, files, things like that. We don't know how true this is, but we also, if it is true, we don't know the extent of the damage and what has been lost, or, you know, things like that. So we turn to Cat Turd to give us the lowdown here.
More about the January 6th commission, and what about the Epstein files? A lot of conversation about the Epstein files, and I recognize that when you're dealing with children, it takes much more time. You've got to ensure that what you're sending out publicly is not revealing any personal information. But can you give us a sense of those two items and whether or not we'll learn more about them?
Sure. You're going to hear, all I'll say on January 6th, you're going to hear a lot more about the January 6th Commission in a very good way. And as to Epstein, yes, you're absolutely right, Maria. You know, tens of thousands of pages of documents and hundreds of victims of Jeffrey Epstein. Wow. So the FBI, they have been working round the clock at my directive, at Kash Patel's directive. Now Dan Bongino's there, who is a great asset for all of us at the FBI as well. But yeah, we have to protect their identity, their personal information to make sure they're safe. But other than that, we are releasing all of these documents as soon as we can get them redacted to protect the victims of him, of all of these horrific crimes that he committed.
You're also cracking down on anti-Semitism. We had days of protesting at Columbia University. The president...
Okay, I don't want to know about any of that stuff. So, yeah, they're looking to get this stuff out. They're redacting it, so... Arrest every single famous pedo who participated in Epstein's rape island. Every last one. Yep. Couldn't say it better. So, but when they say they're going to redact names like that to protect victims, is it just the victims they're going to be protecting? I don't know. Also, we've got this clip here. I did see this before. I want to see what this is about.
I want the American public to know, too. We've had problems at the FBI. We are going to hold ourselves internally accountable for those meting out justice who have the privilege to serve and wear the gun and the badge or the uniform of the FBI out in the field. Where those missteps have been taken, we've already addressed that by eliminating those people from the roles of the FBI, and we will continue to vigorously uphold on a 24/7, 365 basis, as vigorously as we pursue violent crime, those that abuse or corrupt or violate their oath of office at the FBI, and I will not stand for, I will have zero tolerance for those that we will utilize our badge to harm our country.
So is that like an allusion to abuse or corrupt or violate their oath of office? But like, what is the implication there? Like, those people that have been destroying evidence? Is it reference to that? Like, what's that about? Yeah, I can't tell. But yeah, apparently something's shaking up in the FBI. I do think this Epstein stuff Yeah, I think there's probably some connections between that and the FBI that they're really trying to hide. Or at least figures or people in the FBI, maybe. I don't know. Maybe not the FBI completely as an organization, but... Yeah, we're keeping an eye on this. We're keeping an eye on this. There's some very strange shit going on in here. Very strange. U.S. Education Department set for dismantling under Trump order. So this is a pretty big story, I feel like. So we're going to go down the comments and stuff in a minute, but so obviously he did speak about this during his campaign, I think, and they mentioned that they were going to start dismantling this. I think it's an interesting question, right? You've had the education of department in the USA for I don't know how long now. I want to say it's like 100 years or something. Maybe it's not quite that long. I can't remember. But it's a kind of long time. And during that time, the standard of intelligence of the general public has, I don't know if it has necessarily increased. Should we see the average, has the average American IQ has declined? Let's just see if that's true. Just on like a kind of actual... What is the actual thing here? So leading up to the 1990s, IQ scores were consistently going up. So, but in recent years, it's flipped. When was this? 2023. So it's not too far off. Scores in verbal reasoning, matrix reasoning, and letter and number series all declined, but interestingly, scores in spatial reasoning went up. That was probably the gamers. America's IQ scores are trending in a downward direction. In fact, they've been falling for over a decade. According to a press release in studying intelligence testing data from 2006 to 2018, Northwestern University researchers noticed that test scores in 3 out of 4 cognitive domains were going down. This is the first time we've seen a consistent negative slope for these testing categories, providing tangible evidence for what is known as reverse Flynn effect. Yeah, I thought it was, I don't know why it's been debated that IQ scores can go up and down, like, because it's been observed they go up and down. Fucking stupid. But yeah, so, yeah, people's vocabularies, people's mathematics, people's general critical thinking skills, they're just not there anymore. They're declining, they're in decline. And I think it is noticeable. I think it's noticeable. In fact, in my job, I work with the kind of with the general public. I have to speak to them on the phone. And there is a noticeable issue with people just not being able to do simple things. Yeah, definitely an issue. So it does call into question these kinds of things, like the education department. It does call into question, are they effective? Are they being effective? Maybe they were effective. Oh shit. Maybe they were effective at one time, but now are maybe becoming obsolete. Maybe they've outstayed their welcome. Maybe we need to start something new. So I don't see this as a bad thing. A lot of people are approaching this like it's a bad thing. I think it could actually be a good thing, personally. But it depends how it's done, because it could absolutely also be a bad thing too. So let's not just pretend it's all good. But I do question the education thing. I do think the schools have consistently shown that they are like degrading. Students' tests are degrading. And you just notice this shit in life in general. But let's see this clip and see what we're dealing with.
Who did the colonists fight in the Revolutionary War?
Oh, God. In the Revolutionary War?
It was, I don't know if this is right.
The British, obviously. You could argue maybe a bit of the French. For the British.
I mean, it sounds so stupid. Was it the Spanish? Wait, what are your majors? Business. Biology.
Business.
Okay.
What's so funny about that?
Elementary education. Oh.
Entry education, mate. It sounds like you didn't get it. That is entry education.
Elementary education. Oh.
Elementary.
What shape is the U.S. Pentagon building?
Wait.
Isn't it just...
Is it a hexagon or a pentagon? I think it's a hexagon. Octagon. No, it's not an octagon. It's not got enough sides. It's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Pentagon? I think it's a pentagon. Whatever. Yeah, because it's a pentagon. Sorry.
Just a square?
How many U.S. senators are there?
6, 7.
2 for each state. How many amendments are in the Bill of Rights?
There's a lot. I know 17.
Isn't it 12? Oh no, 19. No, wait, there's loads, isn't there now? There's loads. I can't remember how many there is off the top of my head. Let's say there's like 23.
Team?
Who won the Civil War?
Oh shoot, it's East or West, right?
Well, it's the Civil War, so it's the civilians versus whoever was in power. How many justices are on the Supreme Court?
Justices. So like when you say that, like you mean like the FBI?
Wait.
Like when you say that, like
What was the
justices.
question?
How many justices are on the Supreme Court?
Isn't it 9? I can't remember. I want to say it's 9. I'm not even gonna look it up though. I can't be bothered.
So like when you say that, like you mean like the FBI?
Who is on the $100 bill?
Oh, I know that.
Isn't it Benjamin Franklin? That's why they call it all about the Benjamins, right? Because that's the $100 bill.
Abraham Lincoln?
Nope.
Oh.
How do these black people not know that? Come on, Benjamins. What?
Abraham Lincoln? Come on, bro.
That's the First Amendment. What's the second?
Right to vote?
Name 3 states that
He didn't know the Second Amendment. Isn't it the right to bear arms? Or is it the free speech? It's one of them.
border Canada. We're just do one per person.
Asia.
I didn't know Canada had a border.
I didn't know Canada had a border. That's just the same one. They're all using this clip to be like, oh, look, education isn't work. Look, right. I think you can question it, but you need more than this clip. This clip of, like, a bunch of, like, retards on the beach is not really proof of fucking anything, to be honest. It's just proof that... I mean, I guess it is proof that a lot of random Americans are just retarded, actually. Democratic Republican Bynum says Trump is dismantling the Department of Education because he wants Americans uneducated. But I mean, how these people are studying in university and are not educated, so hey, what are you gonna do? Breaking Secretary of Education Linda McMahon of WWF fame. Let's see what she's got to say for herself.
Our goal is to make sure that we are providing the best education for students in our country. We cannot be last in the world in education because we are impacting our national security. We are impacting those next, second, and third generations that are coming along. It is up to us and our responsibility to make sure we are giving them the best access to education. Our goal.
I mean, she seems pretty pro-education to me. I'm not hearing anything about... No, I'm not hearing a situation where they're like, we're going to abolish schools. They're just abolishing a department that regulates schools, I guess. But they're probably going to put something new in place. It seems like they're looking at something new, something better, or at least what they consider to be better. So that's kind of what is going on here, right? Yeah, okay, everybody is sharing this fucking video. Oh, I hate this. I hate it so much. That is not proof of shit. If you, like, I will say, like, you could, in fact, actually, I tell you what, if you need proof, just watch, You Can't Stop Progress by iHypocrite. Just watch that show. Then you'll realize what's going on. I might do a react to You Can't Stop Progress, actually. I might do a react stream to that. I might get Ruby on to do that. She might be fun to do that with. If you don't know Ruby Spacek, go and watch Ruby Spacek. Can't even fucking speak. She's a great girl. Love speaking to Ruby. She'll be on the stream soon. I'm going on her stream soon too, and I've been on her stream a bunch of times, so you should go check her out. Fun. So next up, this is kind of the last topic of the week that I wanted to talk about. And it's something that's been on my mind a lot this week. I've found it to be extremely frustrating to see this kind of phenomenon going on. So, basically, a TV show has come out called Adolescence. Now, full disclosure, I haven't actually seen this show yet. I am trying to refrain in my judgment about it. You know, I have seen some comments that do make me think maybe it's a little bit more nuanced than people are trying to portray. You know, the people that are angry about it. However, there has been some unsettling kind of ripple effects from this show, right? Now, the show, if you don't know, is about it's like about a 13-year-old boy or something who kills a girl, a classmate, right? And apparently he does it because of toxic masculinity. He does it because of basically Andrew Tate and Red Pill influencers made him do it, right? Now, there has been a couple of incel killers, to be fair, right? There has been a couple. But they're very rare. And if you actually look into... There's actually been studies done about incels and their link to violence and how violent they are to women and blah, blah, blah. It was actually found that incels were actually less violent towards women than the general populace. I think they were even less violent to women than women were to other women, right, as a group. Something like that. I can't remember what the study was, but there was a study a little while ago about incels and a link to violence. So this kind of idea is kind of bullshit. In fact, actually, no. You know what? I want to actually give this topic the thorough debunking that it deserves, actually. So we're going to jump... I should still be able to use Grok, right? I'm banned, but I should be able to use Grok, surely. Right. We're going to do a deep search right now. Are there studies that link... Ooh. That... Right. Are there studies that look into incels and violence and and violence against women? Right, let's see what DeepSeek's got to say about this. Something went wrong. Oh, don't tell me I can't use Grok as well. What the fuck? I'm paying for this shit. Oh, are you for real? Let me refresh. Are there studies on incels Or maybe it's because I'm searching the word incel, I'm not sure. They wouldn't normally do that. Are there studies on incels and if they are more violent towards women? Oh man. I wonder if I just use the normal one. If I just say hey, will it let me work? Will it work? Oh man, don't tell me I can't use this. What? That's not fair. What the hell, man? Are there studies on incels and violence? Fuck, I can't use Grok. Oh man, I can't use Grok either. What the hell? That is such bullshit. Ah, right, okay. Fuck. Right, that's really annoying. Maybe if I go grok.com. Are there... I cannot spell there. Are there studies on incels and violence? Yay, it's working. Woo! There are several studies that explore the relationship between incels, involuntary celibates, and violence. Research on this topic has grown in recent years. Some studies focus on the radicalization process within incel communities and how online forums can foster violent rhetoric. For example, a study from blah 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 blah. It found that 80% of the content involved discussions about women, often with violent undertones, and described a black pill pipeline where some members progressed from solidarity, advocating violence against women, and normies, average people. However, the researchers noted that this progression is not universal, and many incels do not act on these ideas. Another study published in Studies in Conflict and Terrorism examined incel-related violence as an emerging terrorism threat. It highlighted cases like the 2014 Isla Vista shooting by Elliot Rodger and the 2018 Toronto van attack by Alec Minassian, suggesting that while incel violence is rare compared to other extremist movements, its societal impact warrants attention from law enforcement. So, a 2020 narrative review explored connections between incel and mental health and violence, found that while violent acts by incels are notable, they stem from a small subset. The review identify high rates of depression, anxiety, and suicidal ideation among incels, just that mental health issues may be more prevalent than violent tendencies. Additionally, analyzed online incel forums. Another study in 2021 found that while violent rhetoric is common, most incels do not translate this into action. A 2022 study cited in Post on X conducted by William Costello that incels are statistically less violent than average men, though this claim requires further scrutiny as it contrasts with other findings. I don't think it does, actually. I don't think anything in here has contradicted that. I don't know if any of them have even studied if that is part of it. In summary, studies of incels and violence reveal a complex picture, while some research links incel to violent extremism. Yeah, they're just saying there has been a couple of violent extremist attacks based on inceldom, but out of the incels, that is basically nothing. Nobody, it's like not high enough for it to be considered like anything. And there's web pages, there's posts here about that. So we should all be able to see that. You know, incels, as much as we love to hate the incels, fundamentally, they are not as violent. They are not a growing violent thing. They're not a source of violence against women in this particular way. In any large capacity that should be considered noteworthy. And the reason that I'm bringing this up, about the incels and them not being that violent, is because this is all a distraction. Because the real question about men and violence is abuse in the home. That's what we've got to actually address. We've got to address abuse in the home, and this can take many different forms. You know, it can be physical abuse against the children, it can be sexual abuse, it can be neglect, it can also be spoiling your child. There are multiple ways you can abuse a child, emotionally, physically, psychologically, and especially if this person who is abusing you is your mother, this can bring about misogynistic feelings in men, and is often ignored and overlooked, and women's abuse against their children is often excused and not given its good due. And then when that's ignored, that can exacerbate the issue, make the hatred more intense, because then it's like nobody gives a shit. So I do think that and the feminists online, all they do when they talk about this, especially this adolescence thing, there's a whole narrative that's come out that's basically just men are inherently evil and violent, basically. It's got nothing to do with abuse. Abuse doesn't make you violent. Only just being a man makes you violent. Right? It's the most dumb reductionist bullshit ever. Now we're gonna look into that, right? Now we're gonna look into that. We're gonna do a deep search. We're gonna do a deep search on this. Right, we're gonna run through the logic a little bit here. So just let me think of like how to phrase this question properly so that we get a very robust answer. Okay, it's got to be a robust question for a robust answer. Does childhood abuse cause men to become more likely to be violent in adulthood? So this is going to take a sec. Oh, wait. I got to sign in. How do I sign in? Oh, it might not let me use it now, though, because it'll sync up my account and then it find out that I'm, like, banned. Please don't. Oh. Right, I'm just gonna do that off screen real quick. Right, I just gotta verify my email to do this. Apparently. Sorry about this, guys. Wouldn't normally like to do this on a stream. But when you're blocked on X, you gotta do what you gotta do. There we go. Verifying. Verify I am human. Close window. Hello. We're back in the room. We're alive. We're alive and kicking. I think. I think we're alive. Continue. Okay, how can I help you today? We're doing a deep search. What do you want to know? What was I saying? What was the last thing that I asked him? Are there studies wait. Is it true that abuse oh wait, sorry. This is how I phrased it. Childhood abuse Wait, how did I phrase it? Is it true that childhood abuse causes men to be more likely to be violent in adulthood? Okay, it's actually working for us, which is cool. Alright, we can still use Grok, but I just have to do it on the app. I can't do it on the app, on the Twitter app. Okay. Well, the Twitter site, whatever. Whatever! There's a reason I really want to go deep on this, okay? I've been thinking about this for a while. There's a serious lack of empathy for boys, and part of the reason why a lot of boys and men turn to violence is because of how systemically they are ignored. How systemically they are lacking in empathy for them. And now a lot of women will fire back and be like, yeah, well, not everyone takes us seriously when things happen to us and blah, blah, blah. And yeah, that's true. It's going to happen to everyone, right? It's not always like everything's going to be taken seriously, but you have to realize that no matter what you want to say, it's literal facts that society completely prioritizes women in almost every single respect you can possibly give them, apart from like a few issues, right? But in most things, women are massively prioritized. Wait, is it just kicked me out? Oh, it kicked me out. For real. Are there studies on... Is it true childhood abuse makes it more likely that men will become violent in adulthood? Please tell me this is going to work. I'm actually going to copy and paste it now because please work. Just work. As you can see, it is compiling information here. So even if we don't get the full thing, you can see what is happening, okay? There is evidence of this. I'm not just talking out of my arse, okay? Now, the reason I'm bringing up abuse in the home is because, let's face it, most people who are abusive have probably been abused themselves, right? It's most likely. Now, it's not complete. The criminal data, it says something like 58% report being abused, right? Or report abusive behavior. But there's other studies where a lot of criminals don't realize they were fucking abused, okay? So they don't necessarily say it, or some don't even want to admit it, right? There's a thing with narcissists where they will tell you their life was great. Like Ted Bundy will say things like, oh, I had a perfectly normal childhood. I was fine. And then you find out that his like mum and dad, his dad was like an alcoholic and used to batter him, right? So you can't always trust self-reporting, is what I'm trying to say. I'm not saying that every single person who's committed a crime has been abused either. What I'm saying is, in a majority of cases, this will be the case. In like a big majority of cases. So if you really want to tackle violence, if you really want to tackle violence against women, violence against men, suicide, all these big issues, you've got to tackle abuse in the home. But the reason the feminists don't want to talk about abuse in the home is because then they actually have to talk about mothers being abusive too. Because they're fine talking about fathers being abusive, fathers being absent. And by the way, we should be fine about talking about that because that is something that has to be addressed and discussed as well. But they'll happily discuss all that. They'll happily talk all day about how men ain't shit and blah, blah, blah. But they will not look at themselves. They will not include how abusive mothers can be. They will not do that. They will never allow that to happen. And I think This is fundamentally this inability to be able to put women in the same space as men. Not to say they're literally worse or the same as men, but to put the severity of their abuse on the same page, like the same kind of acknowledgement, is very scary to a lot of feminists, probably because they are abusive mothers, okay, to their sons. And they don't want to have to stop and think about how they may have affected their boys or the rifts in their relationships with their children. They don't want to have to think about that. So they will make excuses. They'll say she was stressed. They'll say she's due on. And that's why she was emotionally abusing you. That's why she was pulling you down your whole life. That's why she was doing all this stuff. She was stressed. She was depressed. And that makes it okay. And that means you should shut up. Stop talking about it. And that you're not allowed to have feelings about it. And if you have a feeling about it, go fuck yourself. Right? That's the attitude that men get, right? When it comes to opening up and addressing your emotions and things that have happened to you, right? Especially if things have happened to you by women, that's the response you get from women, generally. Now, there's a myth that goes around that, like, men are, like, more hateful towards each other. Like, they also enforce all this stuff. And there is a degree of truth to that. Men do enforce some of this stuff to each other. But it's not as widespread. I'd say women enforce it more, for sure. And women and men are actually quite sympathetic to each other because we're the ones having to deal with it on the other side. It's a bit like women, how they feel a kinship with women because they've had certain experiences with men, and how men, you know, have standards against women and they feel that pressure and blah, blah, blah. So, you know. But I get really angry because now we've got situations. All right, so I'm going to bring this back in. Where is it? Where is it? Uh-oh. There we go, we're back on X. I'm going to bring this back on the screen so you can see it. I forgot I'd taken it off. But hey, so I'm on Grok now. We've got our evidence. And the reason I want to talk about this is because if you're serious about violence prevention, if you're serious long-term solutions into dealing with male violence in society, which I also have a vested interest in, because I've been assaulted many times. I've had to fight people. I've had to deal with violent men myself. It's not nice. It's not a good thing. In fact, lots more men die because of this than women do. It's not even actually close at all. Men die way more to murder. And yes, it is something like a problem with men. But it's not a problem with men, like, inherently. It's a problem with abuse, okay? So, and this is what we're going to look at now. Like, if we could deal with abuse, we'd probably wipe out roughly 50% of all violence in society. So, but instead of trying to think about that and elevate that as a priority in society, instead, we've got members of parliament and the Prime Minister of our country talking about a TV show about incels and about Andrew Tate, who have maybe inspired a couple of killers. Now, yeah, obviously every death is a tragedy. Every killer is a horrible person. But they've inspired a couple. Abuse has inspired thousands, if not millions upon millions, and has victims in... It's basically infinity, right? But no, it's more important to hate men. It's more important to hate men than it is to deal with abuse in the home. For a lot of feminists, unfortunately. It's more important to hate men than to show empathy to boys and realize that we have to actually acknowledge boys as human beings. No, that's too difficult to do that. for a lot of feminists, it seems, and a lot of women in general. It seems like that's quite a hard ask, actually. And if you ask something like that, as a preventative method to benefit women in the future, by the way, as well, not just to benefit men, which it will do, it will benefit men to have that, but to also benefit women in the long run. Right? But no, they don't want to do that. They want to talk about a fucking fucked up TV show.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Everyone is talking about Adolescence, the series by Knowsley's own Stephen Graham and Christine Tamarco.
It's not even real, by the way. It's based on a few different crimes. I'm not even sure if the crimes were motivated by things like Andrew Tate and stuff like that, or Red Pill stuff. They haven't even mentioned that. In fact, they've tried to be quite ambiguous about which crimes were actually the ones that they based it on. There is one that has come to light. I don't know if maybe we'll get to that. It might be in the comments down below. But yeah, it's fucking fucked up, mate. It's fucked up. This is where we're at. Instead of just having empathy for boys and going, you know what, yeah, if we don't want more violent men, maybe we need to stop, like, hitting boys to discipline them, or, you know, stuff like that. Maybe we should stop, like, abusing them, but maybe being emotionally and psychologically abusive to them, and, you know, putting them down for being men and trying to destroy their kind of natural state of being. And, you know, nobody stops to go, yeah, maybe those things too bad. There's even basic child psychology, I'll bring it up later, basic child psychology stuff, where they're probably making a lot of young boys internalize the message that they're just inherently evil. And that does have its own consequences as well, and I'll get to that with the child psychology stuff.
It highlights online male radicalisation and violence against girls. The creators of the show are calling for screenings in Parliament and schools to spark change. So will the Prime Minister back this campaign to counter toxic misogyny early and give young men the role models they deserve?
Yeah. Prime Minister. Yes, and at home we are watching Adolescence with our children. I've got a 16-year-old boy and a 14-year-old girl, and it's a very, very good documentary.
Documentary, he just called it. He just called that a documentary. It's a fictional piece of media that he just called a documentary. The Prime Minister of our country, ladies and gentlemen.
To watch, or drama. This violence carried out by young men, influenced by what they see online, is a real...
Is it a real problem? What studies have we got to back this up? Seriously. What evidence is there of this? Where? Please show me the evidence. Is anybody in the chat able to supply me with some evidence? I don't think so. Yo, Thought Patrol, sorry. Who left the light on? Shout out. So Thought Patrol says, yo, this chat even work? It does work. I'm sorry. I haven't been looking at the chat. I didn't expect people to be in the chat. Who left the light on? What abuse of a child that has ever been abused by a female family member? They never talk about that, only abuse by men. I dislike all the race swapping. Yeah, well, we'll get to the race swapping. It's probably in the comments. It's probably in the comments. So let's take a little look here. So, the real life story did feature a black gentleman. Well, a black lad. No, he's a kid. Also, I don't know the background to this story, but I would wager this kid doesn't look like he probably had the happiest childhood, alright? Let's just put it that way. Let's put it that way, okay? So I am, again, kind of feel like it's bolstering my point here. But this is where we're at in society. And I just want to go through some of the findings here. So, comprehensive analysis of childhood abuse and adult violence in men. So, background and context. Childhood abuse, encompassing emotional neglect and abuse, physical neglect and abuse, and sexual abuse is a significant public health concern with long-term implications for adult behaviour. For men, the potential link to violence in adulthood, particularly intimate partner violence and broader criminal involvement, has been a focal point of psychological and sociological research. Now, I've had feminists basically just telling me that this doesn't exist. That it's just men being evil. They don't believe in science anymore. They don't believe in psychology anymore. You know, when it's women, when something happens to them, when men have a preference on younger women or something, oh, well, that's the male gaze, that impacts women, that gives us a complex about how we feel, that, you know, you're causing us to feel a certain way. But they never think about it the other way around, do they? They never think about, how do women impact men? How do women impact the mental health of men too, and trends in men's behavior, stuff like that. And it's not even just men, it's also how men impact men's behavior too, of course. For sure. But they just don't involve themselves. It's almost like feminists want to pretend that women are just like a non-entity in society that have no impact, no cultural relevance. It's absurd. Nobody's living in that world. That's insane. So, research and methodology and sources. The analysis is informed by multiple studies, including the latent class style, blah, 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 of a bunch of men, of 626 heterosexual men, which empirically identified subgroups based on childhood maltreatment, exposure, and examined their association with adult violence perpetration. Another source, a general overview from StatPearls, provided risk factors for domestic violence, while research from the National Institute of Justice explored pathways between child maltreatment and adult criminal involvement, drawing on the Lay longitudinal study tracking approximately 450 children from the 1970s. So the key findings. The research reveals a significant association between childhood abuse and adult violence in men, with specific findings detailed as below. Latent class analysis results. A study published in 2015 identified 4 subgroups based on childhood maltreatment: low maltreatment, emotional and physical maltreatment, emotional and sexual maltreatment, and polyvictimized, as in like they had multiple of these. The emotional and physical maltreatment group showed significantly higher rates of physical IPV and psychological IPV compared to low maltreatment, with statistical significance. No significant differences were found for peer violence or sexual assault across groups, though low maltreatment had lower means. Polyvictimized men were significantly worse off, with 48% earning under so much a year. Domestic violence risk factors. In 2023, overview from StatPearls noted that childhood abuse is commonly associated with becoming a perpetrator of domestic violence as an adult, which is what a lot of the feminists seem to care about, is it not? With males who learn that females are not equally respected more likely to abuse females in adulthood, it also highlighted that males who batter their wives do so to children 30% to 60% of the time. So they're passing the cycle of violence on again. And children witnessing domestic violence are at decreased risk of dating violence and difficulties in partnership and parenting. And pathways to criminal involvement. Research from National Institute of Justice, published in 2017, found that childhood abuse increases the risk of adulthood crime by promoting antisocial behavior in childhood adolescence, leading to affiliations with antisocial peers and romantic partners. For men, externalizing problems in middle childhood were more likely, subsequently leading to adult criminal behavior, including violence. The study also supported the cycle of violence with maltreated individuals more likely to perpetrate sexual and physical IPV in adulthood compared to non-maltreated peers. One other studies, such as examining exposure to family violence, found associations between childhood and physical abuse, childhood sexual abuse, and childhood exposure to IPV and IPV in adulthood for men, with odds ratios of 1:7, 1:8, and 2.0 respectively when controlling for co-founders. A dose-response relationship was observed for CPA among men, meaning increased severity and frequency of abuse correlated with higher likelihood of reporting IPV. Implications and unexpected details. The findings suggest that while childhood abuse significantly increases the likelihood of violence in adulthood, the relationship is complex and varies by abuse type. An unexpected detail is that polyvictimized men, despite being severely maltreated, did not always show higher violence perpetration rates compared to other groups, indicating that other factors like mental health and socio-economic status play critical roles. This complexity underscores the need for individualized interventions and further research into mediating factors. I don't know about that. I don't know if like polyvictimized men it could be that just that when people are more affected in one particular way, it manifests in other ways. If you have multiple ways you can't of being victimized, you're kind of dealing with several things at once. Whereas when it's just one thing, you can hyper focus on that one thing, I guess, and maybe you build a complex around that. That would be my kind of educated guess at that kind of phenomenon. And I say all this, and I'm highlighting this. There's probably more studies as well, by the way. But I'm just highlighting this because I just want to show these feminists that you're basically just fucking wrong, okay? You're wrong. And we have to start addressing abuse in the home if you really are serious about this. Now, there's something else about this situation, and what was it? There was something else we were going to look at. I was going to search it. I've forgotten what I was saying. I wonder if anyone else is still in the chat here. Oh, Mischief's entered the chat. How you doing, Mischief? Oh shit. So yeah, there's been a lot of issues here. And there's another element to this as well that I want to get to. It's not just the abuse element. People are saying it's anti-white propaganda. I'm not as bothered about that argument. I don't actually feel that way about it. To me, it's more important to think about the boys because the point still stands. A lot of these boys who are killers, even if they're black, a lot of them come from abusive backgrounds too, in one way or another, right? So I'm not going to sit here and pretend that that's not the case. The corporal punishment of children, especially in Caribbean and African communities, is pretty fucking high. And then people are wondering why these kids are acting violent. You know, they're getting beaten with belts. And then people are wondering why they come to school wanting to start fights. But just to give you an idea of where we're at in the culture, where this kind of culture is at in society, right? This is kind of why, this is the attitude that men are running into basically constantly everywhere they go. And it's been like this for a very long time now. And this is part of the frustration that people want to deal with. But again, they don't want to be honest about the situation or what's going on. So I don't actually know who this person is. They're apparently a VTuber. I've never actually heard of them before. But this post came up in my feed. And it said, men deserve to be loved and treated right. Now you can see it's had 8.3 million views. It's got 110 likes. Now it had a lot of comments. Now it had some good ones. Had a lot of good ones from men who supported it, obviously. But there was actually, for this creator or whatever, for weeks on weeks, not weeks on weeks, sorry, what I'm talking about is this week. For days and days, I meant to say, sorry. For days and days, for the past week or so, basically, they've been having constant harassment. Constant harassment for them. So, since posting this, from insane people. Oh, okay, she posts a lot. I thought I might be able to find this a bit quicker. So there's people unfollowing her. She lost a lot of people for making this statement. This is a woman, by the way, as well. They have other schizos coming after them. What were they saying? Obviously, it's a safe space for misogynists and racists like your viewers and guys like Tectone. Or whatever, I don't know who that is. But, you know, again, just making these wild statements that, you know, just to say something nice about men means that you're in league with racists, you're in league with all this stuff. Yeah. And this has been going on ever since. So They even did an apology video, it looks like. I don't know, I guess this is addressing the situation.
I wanted to address the recent controversy. A lot of people got angry, a lot of people got offended, and I needed to apologize. Apologize for all of you being freaking retarded. Bye-bye. I wanted to...
So yeah, so we're at a place in society now where just saying something like as literally as benign as that can get you lots of hate like that. And I see the same thing kind of going on with this childhood stuff, this adolescence stuff. You know, and the people being not willing to look at abuse in the home and try to care about boys that are abused and how this might impact their life. We're instead just trying to turn a blind eye to that, it seems like. A lot of these feminists who want to try and tout themselves as compassionate and caring and kind and all this other stuff, they just don't actually fucking care. They just do not care about abuse against children unless it's a girl. And I just don't believe in that. I believe we should care whenever a child is abused. And if we care about that, then maybe things will change in this world. I don't know, maybe they'll change, but they will not change. They certainly will not change if we continue to ignore it. So, if you can live with yourself ignoring boys being raped, being battered, being exploited as drug mules, or psychologically and emotionally tortured, then you're a piece of shit, essentially. And go fuck yourself. Anyway, I think that's the show for this week. I think that's the show this week. But thank you everyone for tuning in. Appreciate it. Everyone getting involved in the chat. I wish I'd seen the chat earlier, so I could have kept some of those people in here. Unfortunately, I missed that. That's my bad. I should really get my second monitor on the go. I really should. I need to figure that out. But yeah, thank you everyone. Please like, subscribe, do all that stuff, and I'll see you next week.